Stephanie here with a video from My Favorite Things. In today's video, we are going to be recreating this card that was designed by design team member Barbara using new products from the April 2017 release. To start our card, the first thing we want to do is create the background panel because we are going to be doing some watercoloring and we want to allow this to dry while we work on the rest of the card. So for my background, I'm just using my Prima Confections watercolors. This is the Pastel Dreams collection. And I'm just taking the brightest blue color in this collection and I'm going to add this to my cardstock panel. So I have some Ranger watercolor paper, so it's just a nice bright white watercolor paper. And I did leave it texture side up since we aren't going to be doing any stamping or anything on the watercolor paper. I really wanted to have that texture kind of on that sky area. So I added a light wash of color to the whole entire panel, and then I took some more concentrated color with less water and added a bit more just to kind of deepen up that pigment in the sky. And now we can set this aside to dry while we work on the rest of the card. So I have a couple of images here that I've stamped and die cut from the Springtime Critter stamp set. And I also have a whole bunch of pieces here that I've die cut from the Spring Scene Builder die-namics die set. So both of these products are both new for April 2017. And I'm going to create a scene on the card just like Barbara did using all of these different pieces. So for the little bunny there, I have him colored, and the little birdie, they're going to kind of be the main images on the card. And we're going to kind of do a fun technique with the bunny. I love what Barbara did here, so I definitely wanted to recreate this portion of the card. So what I'm doing is I am coloring another one of these bunnies here, and I started to color his whole body and then realized I'm only going to be using his head and his ears. So I just kind of stopped coloring the body and kept going with his head. And I'm just using some warm gray Copic markers, and I'm adding a very light wash of color to the entire bunny first. And then I'm taking my darker and my medium gray colors, and I'm adding some additional color just to kind of give him a little bit of shadow and shading and just kind of make him look a little bit more dimensional and not so flat. Both the full bunny and then just the little bunny head here were all colored with W0, W1, and W3 markers. And then I added a bit of color to the inside of his ears and his nose with an R01 marker. So now for this bunny here, I'm going to use my scissors to cut out his head. So for the original one, we just used the coordinating die. But for this one, we're going to layer this on top of the original bunny. So we want to have our cut lines right on the ink lines. So I'm just going to take my scissors and completely cut around his head. And I was able to keep his whiskers as well, so I just kind of very carefully cut around them with my scissors and managed to not completely cut them off, so I can have the great whisker detail on the top portion of the bunny too. So you'll see what we're going to do with that in a few minutes once we get the scene created. So I'm just taking all of the pieces here now that I've already die cut, and I'm going to position them all on the card panel and get everything kind of adhered down and create my scene as I go. So before I started to adhere any of the die cut pieces, I did add the watercolor panel to a white card base. This is a standard A2 size card, so it's 4¼ inches by 5½ inches. And I just started by first adhering the big grassy hill, and then I'm just going to build my scene on top of that with all of the different individual components that we have die cut. For the sentiment, I stamped it directly onto the grass area with black licorice dye ink, and I just kind of positioned that little grass piece that we added to the bottom before I stamped the sentiment so that I made sure I didn't stamp it too low in the scene. And then I'm just going to use my tape runner and my liquid glue depending on what I'm adhering, and I'm just going to add everything to this card. For the clouds, I did pop some of them up with foam adhesive just to give them a little bit of dimension. So I am going to add a few of those with foam adhesive, and then a couple of them are adhered direct to the card panel. I added the little sun detail up in the top right corner of the card and then layered some cloud over top of it. Added the last cloud there in the scene, and then I can position the final 2 trees over on the right-hand side of the scene. And then once everything is adhered, we can go ahead and add the bunny and the bird to the scene. So for the bunny, we're going to add him directly to the cardstock panel. We're not going to use any kind of foam adhesive on him or the bird. And that's because we're going to add some dimension with the second little bunny head that we did separately. So I'm first taking both of these images and using my tape runner to add these to the card, and I'm kind of positioning them right over the sentiment, right beside the trees there. And then I'm going to take this tiny little action wobbler, and we're going to adhere it to the back of the second bunny head that we colored, and I'm going to position this directly on top of the original bunny that's already on the card base. And what this is going to do is it's going to add some dimension to the card by making that second little bunny head kind of stand up off of the card. And that fun little action wobbler spring underneath is going to allow you to kind of move the head around. So these are super fun. You just kind of want to press the wobbler together when you adhere it to the card to make sure everything lines up. And now you can see I have this great dimension, and you can see the fun movement that the head has now that it's on this fun little spring. And once we have that done, then our fun little scene is created. We have this great little scene with all of these components from the Spring Scene Builder Dynamics die set. And then we have these adorable images from the Springtime Critters set with the fun interactive head on the bunny. So thank you so much to Barbara for creating a great card for us to recreate in today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.